Spain had seen its fair share of celebrity chaos, glamorous red carpets, and international stars passing through Madrid like shooting comets. But nothing, absolutely nothing, had prepared the Spanish media for what would happen that evening. When King Yaman stepped out of the black SUV in front of the Palacio de Furias, flashes exploded like fireworks. The energy was different. Reporters whispered to each other, sensing something unusual in the atmosphere. Ken wasn't just there for a promotional appearance. The tension behind his eyes suggested a deeper storm, one that had been silently brewing for years. As he walked the carpet, smiling politely, no one could see the battle happening inside him. His fans screamed his name, holding photos from his past series, posters from his Italian projects, and even handmade signs that read "Te amamos, Can." But among the noise, he heard something else, or maybe felt it. A memory. A voice. A presence he couldn't ever fully escape. Demet. The woman who had once shared his brightest days, the woman who understood his silences, the woman who had walked hand in hand with him through fame, fear, and fragile hope. No matter how far he traveled, something always pulled him back to her. It wasn't something he tried to explain, it wasn't even something he fully understood. But that night in Spain, it resurfaced with a force he hadn't expected. Inside the event hall, the lights dimmed, music played, and interviews began one after another. Ken sat across from a well-known Spanish journalist, smiling calmly, answering questions about his latest project. Everything seemed normal, until the journalist leaned in, softened her tone, and asked the question that instantly froze the air around them. "Ken, people still talk about the connection between you and Demet Özdemir. After all these years, was it real?" For a moment, he didn't breathe. Cameras pointed at him like unblinking eyes, waiting to capture the slightest twitch. Every instinct told him to dodge the question, to smile and redirect, just as he had done countless times before. But something inside him gave way. Maybe it was Spain, the land where people spoke openly about love. Maybe it was the emotional exhaustion of constantly running from a past that was never truly past. Or maybe, it was simply time. He looked down, exhaled slowly, and raised his eyes again. But they weren't the eyes of the polished actor the world knew, they were the eyes of a man finally allowing himself to speak his truth. "Demet and I," he began, his voice lower, softer. The journalist leaned forward. The room seemed to shrink. Every camera zoomed in. "We were soulmates." A stunned silence filled the hall. Even the translators paused, unsure if they had heard correctly. But Ken didn't stop there. "Our bond, it never truly ended. People think time changes everything, but some connections, some souls, remain tied, no matter what life does to them." The journalist's hand trembled slightly as she adjusted her microphone. Fans outside screamed without knowing why, sensing the tremor in the air. And Ken? He felt a strange mix of relief and fear wash over him. Relief because he had finally said what had been buried inside him for so long. Fear because he knew his words would travel across continents within minutes. And eventually reach her. Demet. The woman whose name tasted like a memory he had never been able to erase. And Spain had just become the place where the truth finally slipped out. The moment the interview clip hit the Spanish media servers, it was as if someone had dropped a lit match into a room filled with gasoline. Editors scrambled to cut the segment. Producers shouted across studio floors. Headlines were drafted in seconds. And within minutes, the biggest networks in Spain, Italy, Turkey, and beyond were broadcasting the same breaking banner: "Ken Yaman, Demet and I are soulmates. Our bond never truly ended." The reaction was instant and volcanic. Social media exploded like a meteor strike. Fans around the world paused whatever they were doing, work, school, dinner, and rushed to replay the video. Millions watched as Ken's eyes softened, his guard fell, and the truth he had swallowed for years finally surfaced. The clip was raw, unpolished, unmistakably real. It wasn't the kind of statement an actor makes for PR. This was personal. Deeply personal. Comments began flooding in, "He still loves her." Finally he said it. You can't hide soulmates forever. Even people who hadn't followed their story since her Kenzie cuss suddenly found themselves pulled back in. There was something universally human about what Ken said, something that echoed in anyone who had ever loved someone they couldn't forget. But while the world was losing its mind, Ken was still in the event hall, unaware of the chaos he had unleashed. His team exchanged nervous glances. His manager quietly checked his phone, eyes widening with every refresh. Italy was trending. Turkey was on fire. Spain was an absolute meltdown. And the one question on everyone's mind wasn't did he really say it, but rather, how will Demet react? Meanwhile, Ken stepped away from the lights and walked toward a quiet backstage corridor to collect himself. His pulse hadn't slowed since the moment he uttered the words. His hands were still slightly trembling. He wasn't afraid of the public reaction, he had survived harsher storms. What terrified him was the emotional truth behind what he'd admitted. Because saying it out loud meant he could no longer pretend. He leaned against the wall, staring at the floor, replaying the moment in his mind. Her smile flashed before him. The sound of her laughter. The way she used to look at him when they rehearsed lines together, like she could read the words on his heart before he ever spoke them. He remembered their last heated argument, their last quiet night on set, the unspoken promises, the silent breaking apart. None of it had faded. Not really. Time had only taught him how to hide it. Suddenly, a member of the event staff rushed toward him. "Senor Yaman, the media is waiting for a follow-up statement. Everyone is asking about Demet." Ken closed his eyes for a moment, inhaling deeply. Of course they were. The world didn't care about the years he had spent rebuilding himself, the roles he had thrown himself into, the cities he had moved to, or the relationships he had tried, and failed, to make work. All they cared about was the single thread he had just tugged. The invisible bond between two people who were once undeniable. He straightened up, adjusting his jacket, steadying his breath. His team approached him, speaking in hurried tones. "Ken, we can still contain it. Say it was misunderstood. Blame the translation if necessary. Don't mention her again." But he shook his head. "No," he said quietly. "I said what I said." His honesty stunned them into silence. Because in that moment, it became clear, this wasn't a slip of the tongue. This wasn't a PR accident. This wasn't nostalgia. This was a man finally acknowledging a truth that had lived inside him long after the camera stopped rolling. A truth he had shared with only one other person. Demet. And somewhere in Istanbul, at that exact moment, her phone began to vibrate nonstop. The world waited for her reaction. But no one, not even Ken, knew what her heart would say now. In Istanbul, the evening had begun quietly for Demet. She had just finished a long day on set, exhausted but content, still wearing the soft traces of her character's emotions on her face. She slipped into her apartment, kicked off her shoes, and let her hair fall loosely over her shoulders. She was preparing tea when her phone buzzed once, then twice, then non-stop. At first, she ignored it. Another interview. Another rumor. Another random storm surrounding someone else's life. But when the notifications didn't stop, when they began coming in waves, she frowned, wiped her hands, and grabbed her phone. The first message she saw was from her stylist. "Demet, are you seeing what's happening?" Then from a director she once worked with. "Spain? Soulmates? Is this real?" Then from her closest friend, simply, "Call me. Now." Her heart tightened. She opened Instagram. Millions of notifications. Her name trending in Turkey, Italy, Spain, Germany, the United States, everywhere. Comments exploding faster than she could read. He finally said it. "Soulmates for life." "Demet, did you see what Ken admitted?" Her breath caught before she even knew why. And then she saw it, the clip. A shaky screen recording from Spanish television. She tapped it, held her breath, and watched. The moment she heard his voice, soft, vulnerable, stripped of every barrier, her knees nearly weakened. Demet and we were soulmates. Our bond never truly ended. The cup of tea she had been holding slipped from her hands and shattered against the floor. For a long moment, she stood completely still. Her mind didn't race, it froze. Every memory she had buried, every moment she had carefully folded away, every wound she had managed to heal, all of it began rising to the surface like a wave she had no strength to fight. She walked slowly to the sofa and sat down, still holding her phone. She replayed the video. Once. Twice. Again. She studied his eyes, the tremble in his voice, the sincerity in every word. This wasn't scripted. This wasn't a performance. This was Can. The real Can. The man she had once understood better than herself. And it hurt. Not because she didn't believe him, but because she did. A message appeared at the top of her screen. He must have meant something else. Ignore it. Another colleague. Then, this will create chaos, be careful. And finally, from someone who had seen her through the hardest years, Demet, are you okay? But she didn't answer anyone. Instead, she leaned back and let her head rest against the cushion, staring at the ceiling through glassy eyes. She wasn't crying, not yet, but her heart felt tight, too full, too loud. She had spent years convincing herself that what they shared belonged to another lifetime. A beautiful one, yes, but one that had ended. She had built walls, created distance, chosen silence. Not because she stopped caring, but because caring had become too painful. He didn't know the nights she couldn't sleep. He didn't know the days she forced herself to smile. He didn't know the moments when one memory of him could shatter her balance. And now, he was on national television confessing the one truth she had never dared to speak aloud. Why now, Can? She whispered to the empty room. Why here? Why like this? Her phone buzzed again. A new message. But this one was different. A single name on the screen made her pulse skip. Can Yaman. She stared at it without opening it. She wasn't ready, not yet. In Spain, he had released years of silence. In Istanbul, she was drowning in it. And somewhere between them, the bond he spoke of was awakening again, pulling at both of their hearts whether they wanted it or not. Demet stared at the screen for a long time. Can's name glowed softly in the dim light of her living room, but her hands remained frozen. She felt as if answering that message would open a door she had spent years trying to keep shut. But ignoring it made her chest tighten with something that felt dangerously close to regret. The message preview showed only 3 words, did you see? Simple. Careful. Almost afraid. It was the kind of message someone sends when they have revealed more than they intended, yet exactly as much as they needed. Demet inhaled slowly, but her breath trembled. She tapped the screen, opening the message. Can, did you see what happened? I didn't plan to say it. But, it was the truth. Her heartbeat quickened. She typed back, yes, I saw it. Then she stopped. Deleted it. Wrote again, Spain is talking about you. Deleted that too. Every reply felt either too cold or too emotional. How was she supposed to answer a confession like that? How do you respond to someone who just told the world he still feels a bond you secretly never stopped feeling either? Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. She closed the chat. Not yet. She couldn't. Meanwhile in Spain, Can sat alone in his hotel room with his phone on the table, screen turned upward, waiting for it to light up. Waiting for her. The world outside was exploding with headlines, reactions, chaos, but he didn't care about any of it. He cared only about her silence. Every minute felt heavier. Every vibration that wasn't from her felt like another twist of anxiety in his chest. He had spent years building a life miles away from the one they shared, convincing himself that distance was healing. But the moment he said her name out loud, the truth hit him with terrifying clarity. He had never truly moved on. His manager knocked and entered without waiting. "Can, the production wants a statement. Something neutral. Something that calms the reactions. If we don't address it, this becomes uncontrollable." Ken didn't even look up. "What exactly am I supposed to say?" "That you were misunderstood. That you were speaking generally. That it wasn't about her specifically." He laughed once, a short, empty sound. "If I say that, it becomes a lie." His manager hesitated, lowering his voice. "Then what do you want to do?" Ken leaned back, eyes fixed on his silent phone. "I want to hear from her." Across the sea, Demet finally stood up and walked to the window. Istanbul glowed beneath her, cars, streetlights, distant sirens. Yet she felt strangely detached from everything. Her reflection stared back at her, tired eyes, a slightly trembling jaw, a woman who had tried so hard to protect her heart and now felt its walls cracking. He wasn't supposed to say that, she whispered to herself. She wasn't angry, she was overwhelmed. She remembered the way he once held her hand during long shooting days when she felt like giving up. The way he looked at her when she thought no one was watching. The way their final goodbye wasn't really a goodbye, just silence they didn't know how to break. And now, after all this time, he had broken it. Her phone buzzed again. Another message from Can. "Can, if you don't want to talk, I'll understand. I just needed you to know. I meant every word." Her heart throbbed. This time, she typed something real. "Why now, Can?" She didn't send it. Her thumb hovered over the button, trembling. But just as she was about to tap it, a news alert popped above her message, interrupting everything. "Can Yaman's confession in Spain goes global, millions are demanding Demet's response." She locked her phone instantly, breath sharp. This wasn't just between them anymore. The world had its eyes on their story again. And the bond he spoke of was now pulling them into a storm neither was ready to face. The night in Istanbul grew colder as Demet paced her living room, unable to settle the storm in her chest. Her phone lay face down on the table, as if looking at it again would make everything worse. The messages she had almost sent, the words she had wanted to say, the questions she had buried for years, all of them swirled inside her like a tide threatening to break. She finally picked up the phone again. Can's last message lingered at the top. "I meant every word." She closed her eyes. Outside her building, fans had already gathered, shouting her name, pleading for a reaction, holding posters with her and Can's photos from years ago. The past she had left behind had come back into the world like wildfire, burning, uncontrollable, impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, in Spain, Can sat on the edge of his hotel bed, still wearing the same suit from the event, unable to unwind. His hotel room felt too quiet, too heavy. The city hummed beyond his window, but inside he heard only the echo of her silence. His phone buzzed, his heart jumped, but it was only another alert. Demet Özdemir has not yet responded to Yaman's shocking soulmate confession. He exhaled sharply, raking a hand through his hair. This wasn't why he said it. He didn't want headlines, drama, or chaos. He just wanted to stop lying, to himself, to the world, to the pain that never really left him. Another buzz. This time, it was her. A message appeared. "Demet, you surprised me today." He swallowed hard. Surprised was a gentle word, but he knew what it really meant. He typed back instantly, "Can, I know. I didn't plan it. It just came out." Her reply didn't come right away. Minutes passed. Then, "Demet, people won't leave this alone. You know that, right?" He leaned back, staring at the ceiling. "Can, I said the truth. Whatever happens now, happens." There was a long pause. A painfully long pause. Then she wrote, "Demet. You talked about a bond that never ended. Do you really believe that? After everything?" Can's heartbeat pounded loudly in his ears. He could choose the easy answer. Or he could choose the real one. He typed, "Can, yes. I do. Because every time I think it's gone, something reminds me it's still there." He hesitated, then added, "And I think you feel it too, even if you don't want to." Back in Istanbul, Demet felt a trembling breath escape her lips. She sank onto the sofa, staring at his words. Tears she had been holding back finally welled in her eyes, not of sadness, but of recognition. He wasn't wrong. She typed slowly, carefully, "Demet, maybe some bonds don't disappear. But that doesn't mean they're simple." His reply came instantly, "Can, no. They were never simple. But they were real." Her heart tightened. "Demet, and what do you want now, Can? The world is watching. Everything you say becomes a storm." He paused before responding, knowing this was the moment that truly mattered. "Can. I don't care about the world right now. I care about you." She closed her eyes, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. She had waited years to hear those words, not from fans, not from gossip, but from him. And now that the truth was standing in front of her again, she didn't know whether to run from it or fall into it. Her fingers typed something she didn't expect, "Demet, then maybe we should talk. Not on camera. Not for them. Just, us." When can read it, his breath caught. His shoulders relaxed for the first time all day. "Can, tell me when and where. I'll be there." Demet stared at her reflection in the black screen of her phone. This wasn't closure. This wasn't an ending. And it wasn't a return to the past. It was something new, something born from truth, from wounds that never healed, from a bond both of them had tried to outrun, and failed. Outside, the world continued speculating. But inside two hearts, one in Spain, one in Istanbul. The confession had awakened something deeper than headlines. And now, their story was no longer frozen in time. It was moving again.